Hi folks, I'm Dan Dworkis and this is the Emergency Mind. In this update, we're going to be talking about what we've been up to with the Emergency Mind over the past chunk of time, focusing on the outputs, what we've produced, the inputs, what we've been reading and analyzing, and then ending with a question, which is something that I'm personally wrestling with in my own quest to become better at performing under pressure. All right, let's jump in. I hope you enjoy. Okay, let's start with the outputs. So our main product over this period of time is episode 30 of the Emergency Mind podcast, Pride and Preparation, featuring Jimmy Pruitt. So Pruitt is an emergency pharmacist, and in this episode, he takes us on his personal journey from Orlando to the football field to the emergency department, where he's now an absolutely key part of high-functioning trauma and resuscitation teams, as well as a really powerful clinician educator. So in this talk, we cover the deep links between preparation and success, the way to communicate effectively across multiple disciplines, how to nudge people around you and above you to take better actions and make better choices, and the key roles that pharmacists play in high-performing teams. Now, Pruitt is an amazing podcaster in his own right, and if you're interested in hearing more about him, you can look at his awesome podcast called Pharm So Hard. Next up on the input side, we're going to start with a really interesting article called Cognitive Load Theory, Explaining Our Fight for Focus. Now, cognitive load theory is something that we've talked a little bit about in the podcast and that we're going to go back to quite a bit in the future. And basically, it talks about the inherent mental work it takes to achieve a process. Now, this article is a great introduction to cognitive load theory from the lens of why concentrating during the COVID-19 pandemic is challenging. And it does a really good job discussing the basic building blocks of intrinsic versus extraneous cognitive load, working memory, and more, all stuff that you really need to understand in order to learn from and really capture cognitive load theory. We also have a really interesting video called Moving Through the Hurdles to Be Better. And this is a great presentation by Jürgen Heitmann. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, who's currently the director of performance at a really awesome group called the Arena Lab. And what this is focused on is the question of how to build resilience in individuals and teams who are undergoing really significant challenges, things like responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, operating in war zones, things like this. And Heitmann hits on the importance of focusing on the mission first, on reconnecting what you're doing to those deepest values. But he also talks about the roles of optimism, honesty, and empathy, and focuses quite a bit on how important it is to conduct a really thorough and really worthwhile debrief at the end of an action. Okay, so next up is the question I'm wrestling with. So Pruitt, in episode 30 of the podcast that we mentioned earlier, talks extensively about being a strong team asset and leveraging your drive and expertise when you're not the primary leader of a team. Two of the strategies he dives into include going out of your way when you first start a team to show your value by trying to anticipate what's coming next in the performance you're part of, and also, if appropriate and safe, to ask questions that try to guide the team into better actions. These are really interesting strategies, and they made me think about the following question. So first, if I'm actually the leader of a team, how do I best set up a team structure to really understand and leverage the strengths of my team members when they might not be immediately obvious to me? Second, if I'm not the leader of a team, how do I best support my team, especially when there seems to be maybe options or information that I might know about that they don't seem to see? All right, well, that about does it. It's a pretty short update this time. I hope you enjoy. I hope you find something useful. Keep training. Good luck out there.